Today's show is sponsored by the ABV Barrel Shop. The ABV Barrel Shop is located in the St. Louis metro community of Arnold, Missouri. The ABV Barrel Shop is focused on one thing: single barrels. Best of all, you can try before you buy. Head over to abvbarrelshop.com to sign up for their email and text distribution so you know what they have in stock, what classes are coming up, and who from the industry may be coming in to visit. The ABV Barrel Shop. It's where single barrels live. We're also sponsored by The Bar to Go. The Bar to Go offers traveling minibars that are no bigger than a small purse or toiletry bag. Best of all, they are fully customizable so you can create the perfect piece that is unique for you. If you own your own business, what a fun and unique way to promote what you do. Check them out online at thebar2go.com. That is the number 2 in The Bar to Go. If you have wholesale questions, call my friend Isabel Clark at 504-481-1297. Finally, we are sponsored by the Neely Family Distillery. NFD is a family-owned business that keeps ringing up awards in the spirits world. Head to Sparta, Kentucky to experience the family history, award-winning spirits, and meet the Neely family. Check them out online at neelyfamilydistillery.com. Now, on to the show.
Let's drink!
Welcome to the Bourbon Daily, the podcast about everything bourbon delivered to you every day of the week. Today we have a special show from the ABV Barrel Shop Tasting Bar, where we're going to be talking to Joe Denap and Dave Hoyle about their respective bourbon journeys. Should be a fun one. My name is Steve Akeley. What's up, guys?
Hey, not much, Steve. How are you?
That's good. That's good.
Come to enjoy a little bourbon.
So, yeah, I was sitting here by myself, minding my own business at work. I'd thrown out this thing, maybe if anybody's available, do a podcast. To my surprise, the only person who shows up to specifically do that is Joe. Joe, have you ever listened to a podcast?
Yes, I have. I showed up to sit in the back and watch everybody else.
You didn't show up to actually podcast?
No, I did not.
And Dave, you listen to podcasts.
I listen to podcasts regularly.
But you've never been on the show.
Never been on a podcast.
So this
There's
is
probably a reason for that.
No, I think this is going to be good. I think it'll be fun. So before we get to the bourbon journey, that's what the show's going to be about. Let's just talk a little bit about yourselves individually. So Joe, I'm going to start with you. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and that type of thing. Not necessarily related to bourbon, because we're going to talk about that after the break.
Well, I grew up in East St. Louis, family of 8. Later on, after I wanted to go to high school, my options were East Side High School or Assumption High School, and Assumption was one you have to pay as you go, and so basically I got a job at a liquor store to pay for my tuition there, and that's also where I learned how to drink too, but that's a different story.
Right.
And from there I just, went to SIU. I would get
off. So Edwardsville?
Edwardsville, yeah.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Okay, all right. Well,
so you would have been around the time when they were doing the Mississippi River Festival.
Yes.
How were those? Did you go?
They were unbelievable. I worked them.
Did you?
Yes, I did. I worked traffic, which was a bitch.
Man, they had unbelievable lineups. I mean,
yeah. They had Chicago a couple of times. They had
ZZ Top was there.
ZZ Tops. They, you name it, they've had them there. And now it's just a big overgrown field.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah, the ruins were still there when I went there. I graduated in 90 myself, but we used to go there because it's just the history. I think the Who was even there one time.
May have been. I can't remember that one. But
yeah. So,
but it was a fantastic thing to do. You worked it. You got to go inside. You get to drink a little bit because they'd have to hand you the stuff through the fence to drink. But hey, it didn't matter.
Right.
But yeah, it was a great time.
Yeah. A great school. My wife graduated from there, and my daughter too. So all three of us. Now we had no idea where my daughter wanted to go, and then when it came time for her to go to college, she's like, "Well, I'm going to Edwardsville. That's where you and Mom went." And we're like, "Okay, cool." And then she says if she ever has kids, she doesn't have kids, but if she ever has kids, they have to go there at this point. So. So yes. So we'll see. So yes. Dave, how about you?
So, born and bred St. Louis.
Okay.
St. Louis question. So, I went to Lindbergh.
Okay.
Class of 75. So, we're on a big anniversary coming up. Hitting that 50-year graduating class. 50 so, that'll be fun. Yep.
Yeah.
Left there. Pretty much started in the packaging industry, and I've never left. And learned very quickly that don't piss anybody off because you will run into them again. It's an industry that nobody ever leaves for some reason.
This is true. Okay.
So trade shows, all that. I've been anywhere from fabrication, manufacturing, to the service industry, to the sales industry. And now I'm in project management, been there for a long time.
Okay.
Love it, mostly because of customer experience. I'm all about the customer experience. Working with customers, that's probably what's kept me going in this industry.
Keeps you going, okay. And Joe, you are retired now.
Yes.
So you've been retired about 3 years.
Yes.
And your wife is getting ready to retire. Are you nervous about this at all? Because that's a lot of together time. You probably haven't had that amount of together time in forever,
All I can say is, I know.
Were you both off during COVID? Maybe did that give you a little preview? Did you have to work?
We both had to work from home during COVID.
But you were both home at least, yeah.
Yes.
So it gave you a little bit of a preview.
Yes. I don't know how this is going to work. I'm going to love staying home with my wife. She is a fantastic person. I'm devoted to her. But there will be a change. It will be a change. Waking up every morning and not, I now have to get up at a certain time, and before she'd get up, she'd go to work. I just lay there for a while, and like I was saying earlier, being retired, it's an adjustment. It really is. It's kind of like you go from talking to people, being active, and now you wake up and you go, okay, what am I going to do for today?
Right.
Yeah, I'm going to organize my liquor downstairs. I'm going to take record of the wine. So it's
this is the kind of stuff you do.
Yeah, but now it's gotten a little bit better. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Dave, you're still working, so you're a full-time guy, and when are you thinking about retiring?
So those that know me, I'm here in the ABV Barrel Shop in the Syndicate, probably know my wife. Lord knows I'm Mr. Damn well as it is.
Oh, yeah.
So they all know that I'm going to continue working because there's no way I'm going to be at home with my wife while she's retired. I don't even like sitting next to her when we come to an event at the barrel shop. So that ain't going to happen.
That keeps you motivated.
That is a motivator. I get up, she's still in bed. I am out the door and gone.
Yeah.
But it gives me focus. Yeah, we would be fine. We would definitely be in each other's way. We find each other somehow. I want to go do something. She's right there.
Right.
I just can't handle that no matter where I go.
Yeah.
2,500 square foot, and you've got to be right where I'm standing. So
that does amaze me how often that happens. With my wife, I was like, seriously, I just want to I just need this here, and this is where you need to be at right here, right now. Seriously. Yeah.
I'm like, I've been here for 5 minutes. Why did you come here?
Right. Yeah.
I think many years ago, 4 kids. We lived in a small house, like 800 square foot home, and I was watching television, and my wife walks in. Now, keep in mind, I love my wife. I'm devoted to her. She's a beautiful woman.
Sure.
And she just starts ripping on me about something. Just
their wives are good at that.
Oh, yeah. So I'm like, I didn't do anything. So she took a breath. I got up and walked out and walked into the other room. And she followed me. Don't you walk away from me. I looked at her and I said, I didn't do anything. I don't know what I did. I'm innocent. She goes, oh, but da-da-da-da-da. I said, okay, whatever.
Right.
Yeah. So I just lived through it. Didn't ever find out what she was mad about.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. My wife, I've found, now, very pleasant. I bring her into the shop here, very pleasant woman. You guys will like her a lot. She's great. You probably both met her at events and things like that. And she's great. She's quiet. She's good. Most of the evening she spends yelling at me for doing something. Now, when I found her, she's at her best, though. Here's when I don't get yelled at, when we're on vacation. When we're on vacation, it's a vacation from screaming at me because she's having a good time.
I don't see it. I've been on vacation with you both, and she's very mild-mannered.
Oh, yeah. On vacation, she's nice to me, too.
She's pleasant. Every time I see her here,
she's
a wonderful woman.
Her husband aggravates the shit out of her when she's there.
I do. I poke the bear a little bit, right? Yeah.
I'm thinking you're bringing it on yourself.
Well, it's some of that, yeah, definitely. So that stuff. So I always like to, because she doesn't like to talk to groups or anything, or really even individuals she doesn't know that well. She's very shy. She's an accountant. She has that kind of accountant mindset. When you think an accountant is, that's kind of how her mind works. Doesn't want to speak to people. Just wants to work in the books at work and stuff like that. So, every time we're here, she works the register for us, which is kind of accounting type of stuff. She likes that, but I always call her out and be like, hey, you want to talk to the front of the group?
But I would say she is beginning to open up.
Yeah, sure.
Where she was, the more she's here and everybody else is here, it's starting to get a little bit.
She said she disappointed herself the other night because she thought about bringing an item for show and tell, and then she chickened out at the last minute. Then after she experienced it, she's like, I should have brought an item.
That would have been awesome.
Yeah, so next time we do that. But again, I'm waiting a year. I don't want to burn it out. It was so much fun, that event. I don't want to just be like, okay, let's do this monthly or even every 6 months. I worry that
I think we need a fall
was
edition.
a specialist. Yeah,
you
think so?
Edition,
Maybe we'll do a fall edition.
Fall edition.
I loved it
because there were people that what are we going to do? What do we need to bring? You
right.
know. Now I got a feeling a lot of people are going to bring knives because that was a hot topic. We're going to have half the place will have knives and swords. You know, we might branch into handguns. I'm not sure, but yes. Now that everybody's got a feel for it, it might even get better.
It could get better, yeah. Okay, maybe we'll look at a fall. That's for sure. That would be kind of fun. I like to say, Dave, I would have voted for you. Dave was my vote to win the thing. Dave had an original pet rock, the one from 1972, 73. What was it?
75.
75. The original one, the one when it happened, not the knockoffs they sold at Spencer's or whatever. He had the original, which I thought that was cool. Number one, that you had it, that you knew the whole story, and that you've kept it for all these years. That's the crazy.
It was. I've got a lawyer bookshelf kind of thing that has some older stuff in it. That actually, I didn't keep it as much because I was out school, I was doing whatever, and my parents had still kept some of my stuff.
Right.
So then, after they passed, I reclaimed all of it, if you will. And then been there, and I'm like, so then this came up, I'm like, I guess I better find out a little bit more about what is this? What intrigued me was the story behind it.
Right.
That, this guy sitting at a bar, talking with his friends, kind of like what we're doing here.
Right.
They're bitching about their pets, whatever. It's kind of like you do about there's no good pet.
Right.
And came up with this idea, and everybody gave him shit about it. And that he spent 5 cents a piece, sold it for $4.
Yeah.
And so it made millions at Christmas time because it was just that popular.
It
went
was
on
just
the Tonight Show.
And it's a quick strike.
And then
February, and it's over.
February, right after that, stopped.
Ends.
And bought a restaurant.
Yeah.
And it's still open.
Wow.
And the story, those kind of things, the story gets me sometimes more than just the item.
Right. And that's what was cool about that event. They all had stories. Yes. I think everybody did it. If you had to grade them, everyone got an A. Everyone did an excellent job with the event itself. And again, it's to judges. I said it up front, it's subjective. You can't argue. They're picking who they think should win, and it might not be who you would pick or who I would have picked. Like I said, Dave was my horse on that one. I thought he had the best one. But again, I had no say in it. It was Royce and Becca. They chose the ones that they thought should win. But it was fun. Gosh, it was fun.
It was fun. Yeah, and that's just it. I don't think anybody was here to say, "Oh, I'm going to be first" or something.
Right.
It was just sharing that and just the camaraderie, if you will.
Yeah,
of everybody. It was good.
And it took you back because you had to what we used to do. You had to go to the front of the room.
Oh yeah,
tell what you got. So it was really fun. It was fun. Joe, you have to attend the next one of those, man. It was a good time.
Sounds like it was a good time.
Good time.
And their age range. From like us,
right.
They're older, bringing old stuff, and everybody's like, What?
Why you got that rotary on the phone?
Right, yeah.
To newer customers that we have was new stuff, but it was fun.
It was fun.
Yeah.
Thank God Darren was in here because it would have been so new. I don't know what story he would have went with that.
Yeah.
That's one thing for lack of better terms, that ABV, the barrel shop. Mitch and I, we walk in the first time we walk in, and you just felt like, okay, everybody.
It's family.
Yeah, you're it.
Right.
We all know you. Hey, how are you? What's your name? And even though we know you, what do you do for a living? All that kind of stuff. Yeah. They just all wanted to know you. And it just draws the crowd in. Yeah. You feel good when you come into the place, except you got to do a podcast.
Well, surprise!
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I know my grandson, he was over the other day, and he loves Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, 5 years old. And I think he's watched every Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie and comic thing. And he wanted to watch this one thing, a documentary on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, about the two guys that started it. And these guys started basically with nothing, and they put out a couple hundred comic books, and it took off from there. And now they're all living high.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That thing has life. I remember that started when I was like in high school. So I'm talking mid-'80s. Now, I wasn't into it. I was too old. But I do remember it. I do remember that being a thing for the kids back when I was, in high school. So you think about it now, that's been going on 40 years.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, and it's still out there.
Yeah, for sure. So
between that and the Power Rangers, woo!
Yeah. I like the stuff that has legs. I have a daughter, and one of the things that she enjoyed watching, which I love, was Scooby-Doo. So she watched the same cartoons I did.
Yeah.
No, those that held up. I mean, we would watch those, and it would be, I hadn't seen them since they were first run, and when she was born, and we'd start watching them, she loved them just like I did when I was a kid. So the stuff that's really good is just classic. It doesn't expire.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
Stuff that expired wasn't good enough to be on to begin with.
Right.
It's good. It's gone.
Yep.
So.
Yeah. All right, what we're going to do next, we're going to take a quick break. And what's fun is we got a very experienced crew here. And I don't know that I've heard the beginning of their bourbon stories. So this should be good. We'll hear about it. Sounds like Joe picked it up at the liquor store, but we'll get more details on that after the break. Okay, let's talk about the people that make these shows happen. First up is the Stave and Thief Society. Via their in-person class at Moonshine University in Louisville, Kentucky, the Stave and Thief Society is the place where you, a bourbon enthusiast, can expand your knowledge and emerge an executive bourbon steward. In 2017, I completed my executive bourbon steward certification. It's the most comprehensive bourbon certification available and connects you with an expansive network of bourbon enthusiasts and professionals. Check out the full listing of in-person and online certifications and join the society today by enrolling at staveandthief.com. Speaking of executive bourbon steward certification, the ABV Barrel Shop in St. Louis, Missouri has developed a unique partnership with the Stave and Thief Society to offer a preparatory class to assist you in getting your executive bourbon steward certification. This prep class costs only $25 and is available to take live or online via Zoom. Graduates of our class receive a coupon code good for 15% off your executive bourbon steward certification held in Louisville, Kentucky. This saves you almost $90. Additionally, you can collaborate with fellow attendees to split travel costs when you go to Louisville. If you're interested in signing up for the class, simply head over to abvbarrelshop.com and check out the classes and events page. Last but not least, we are sponsored by Neely Family Distillery. Royce Neely is the 11th generation distiller in one of America's oldest distilling families. A visit to Neely Family Distillery takes you through family history, where you can see all the artifacts and newspaper clippings through the years from this family that started distilling in America after James Neely arrived from Northern Ireland in 1740. Today, Royce Neely and his team are crafting some of the best spirits in America. Their bourbon and absinthe offerings keep winning top honors in spirits competitions. Recently, their absinthe made history as the first platinum winner in the absinthe category at the San Francisco Spirits Competition. Neely Family Distillery is definitely a bucket list destination if you are a bourbon fan. Learn more about their spirit offerings, visiting their facility, and the awards they have collected over at NeelyFamilyDistillery.com.
My name is Ryan Thompson. I'm a billionaire who buys stupid scotch, and you are listening to the Bourbon Daily.
All right, everybody, welcome back. This is Steve MacLeod, Joe Denap, and Dave Hoyle here at the ABV Barrel Shop, and we are talking bourbon journeys here. So, Dave, we're going to start with you.
Saw this one coming.
We're going to start with you. How did you get into bourbon? When did this begin for you?
All right, so college, well, I guess you'd say starting... When I grew up, my dad was wild turkey all the time.
Yeah.
And
you grew up in a bourbon household then?
Yeah, but I'm like, man, I don't know why you drink that. I mean, it was every night at the table,
right?
Ice cube in a rocks glass, drinking turkey.
Yeah.
I didn't get into it till I went to college and started with 7 and 7.
Mm-hmm.
Not knowing any better, thinking, I should have known better because anything could be in this one.
Right.
So stay with 7 and 7. I wasn't a Jack and Coke. I was 7 and 7 all the way till I got married. Kind of went off of it a little bit, especially in school because it was all beer then, and kind of going back and forth. And then was all 7 and 7. I mean, I'm buying handles of Seagrams, and then took a break, and then started getting into Jack, and just started very low key bourbon and things like that.
Yeah, and
just started experimenting, and then got into old fashions. And just a couple cocktails. I mean, I wasn't a heavy consumer. And just started getting into it and started drinking a little bit more bourbon, started branching out. Never got into the craft distillery. Pretty much gentlemen, stayed with stuff like that until really came into the barrel shop.
Okay, yeah. So your journey has been a long time, but it's evolved though, right? So
yes.
So you have different kind of phases almost. As you look back, you're like, oh, I was into this phase, drinking my 7 and 7s.
And then to expand the cocktails, and then went to starting to go to rocks, neat, not so much neat, but neat on rocks or whatever. and then evolved into straight neat.
Yeah.
Craft style.
Crafts.
I am more. I have found that I am more of a bourbon person than a rye person. So I'm the outcast of everybody pretty much that's here. I have just always enjoyed straight bourbon.
Yeah.
It's just my go-to.
Right. Very cool. Joe, how about you? How did this whole thing get started for you?
I was about 7th grade, and my neighbor.
You win.
my neighbor bought a liquor store in East St. Louis, and he says, "Hey, you want to come to work for us?" Paid 25 cents an hour.
Okay.
My first job was I had to sweep a parking lot that was about 100 yards with a push broom, and about 40 yards wide. But afterwards, some of the older kids that were in high school said, "Hey, come here, we're going to show you something." He goes, "If you want a beer, walk back, open it up, drink it, put it in the box, take it out back, and burn it in the burning barrel. They'll never know." So I started drinking beer. Then when I got into high school...
Now this is as a 17-year-old you doing that?
No, this one I was like 15 or 14.
15 or 14, okay, yeah.
And then when I got into high school, I was still working.
Now you could drink at 18 at that time though, right?
No, you're still 21.
You had to be 21?
It turned into 18 or 19.
That's my years. I went over to Illinois to drink 18.
Yeah, but so then after we got to know, we got a group of us together, and we said, "Hey, you want to go out and get drunk?" I said, "Sounds good to me." And since I was the only one that worked at the liquor store,
right,
and we had this lady who was probably 70 years old running the register, I said, "Come on in right before closing. I'll be at the front counter, and I'll tell you, I'll check your ID and tell you you're old enough."
Right.
So he checked his ID, and he was old enough, and he bought Wild Turkey 101. That was mine. We bought beer. We bought some little bit of Mad Dog 2020, and we bought all this liquor and beer. Didn't know the place to go. So back in those days, there was a lot of abandoned houses. So we told all our parents, "Hey, we're going to go over to Paul's house. We're going to go to Steve's house and spend the night."
Right.
What we'd do is we'd break into an abandoned house, ice down the cold air return, and stick everything in the cold air return. Just drink all night, get drunk, and sleep it off. Yeah. And then we.
Now, we're not encouraging anybody to do this.
I know. No.
But this is great. This is just real. You're just sharing your story.
That's right. This is just my story.
Right.
That's my story.
Right.
And then one day, the cops chased us out of this place. We grabbed what we could carry and ran out the front door, and the cops coming in the back door. And back then, they had what we called Cracker Jack houses. They built them up in 2 days. They had them built.
Right.
Well, the door was open, so we went in there and finished drinking in there. And one of the guys walked outside to go to the bathroom. And next thing you know, we hear, "Help! Help!" And we go, "What the hell? Where are you, Paul?" "I'm down here." "Where's down here, Paul?" "I'm down here." It was on a crawl space. He walked in the door of the crawl space and fell 3 feet to the floor. Couldn't figure out how to get out. So we looked at him and said, "He's down." We had the openings, the vent openings. He said, "He's down there." So, but make a long story short, we got him out of there. We finished drinking. The next morning, a guy wakes up and says, "Cops are in front, and I see another one coming down the alley. They're going to get us." So everybody just jumped out the back window. Here we go. This is not something you can't do today because you'd go to jail.
Right.
But we all took off running down the alley. I cut him. Illinois had a congressman named Jerry Costello.
Right.
He used to live 2 houses down from us, 3 houses down from us. So I just kind of knew the neighbor, so I ran in. I hid behind I think he had a green Camaro. Yeah, I hid behind the green Camaro, and the cop landed and looked in the garage and yelled at me to come out. I didn't come out, so he just took off running again. One of my friends who was shooting down the alley, who was a track star, got the gun, the warning shot to freeze. He just kept going.
Really?
Yeah, he kept
fired a warning shot. Jeez.
Well, they weren't. Yeah, we were breaking and entering, I guess. And afterwards, I stayed there for a while and got home. And my dad goes, "Where you been?" "Paul's house." And then that moved onward. One night we got chased out and no place to go because we all told each other's parents we were going to somebody else's house.
Right.
So
every kid plays that game at some point.
At our house, I lived in a big old house down in East St. Louis because we had a large family. And if it got above 100 degrees, my dad would turn the air conditioner on in one room. But he had his windows open, and I said, "Hey, Dad, can we sleep out in the front yard tonight?" So he put sleeping bags out for us, covers and everything. He opened the window up, and he listened to us. And the next morning he says, "I'll tell you right now, you go to jail, I'm not bailing you out." So after that, we quit doing that. But then I moved on. I kind of like you did. Went to college. Had a lot of the beer parties and that kind of stuff. But when I got out of college, I was still drinking 101. And I got married and had a kid, and I just kind of backed off of it. I backed off of it because I was taking all these hockey games.
Right.
Parents are getting drunk.
Got involved in being a parent.
Yeah, and other parents are getting drunk and everything. I didn't do anything, and then I got back into wine with Total Wine and Jim. And Jim kept telling me, "Hey, Joe, you need to listen to this guy named Steve Akeley." I think did you show up? Did you do something there at Total Wine once or twice?
Yeah, I used to monthly. I used to do a class.
Okay.
There, yeah.
And he goes, "You need to come and do this." And I thought, yeah, whatever. Then Jim left, and he opened here, and we thought that was the best time to get back into it. And buddy of mine named Mitch and I both showed up and loved it and signed up.
Yeah.
That was pretty much it. Now we just
so that pulled you back in. Huh?
Yeah.
We pulled you back in. Okay.
Yeah. And by the way, I like rye, but I like the more. I'm not an enthusiast about rye, but that 51 to 55% rye, that's kind of like...
That's where you're at?
I'm right there, but yeah, I do like the bourbons as well, but yeah.
So more of a Kentucky
I often wonder what I would think of Dad's Wild Turkey today. How much different it was back then.
It was different. Yeah.
I mean, we're talking late 60s,
right.
70.
Yeah.
Often, because I wasn't a big fan, but I wonder what it would have tasted like today.
Yeah. You can get some of those dusty sometimes and taste it, so it's good stuff for sure. Yeah. It is different though. Yeah. If nothing, at a minimum, the grain is different. The corn is different. Now it's all GMO and stuff like that. And back then they didn't have any of that. So
yeah. Craft distilleries weren't really around. We didn't.
No,
when I was growing up,
mainstream from everything I knew.
If you didn't want Old Fitzgerald or Wild Turkey or something like a Jack Daniels or
very few choices. Yeah, like 8 distilleries.
Yeah.
Everything's coming from them. So
And then we had the grain alcohol. Of course, we tried that once. That was
college. That was Everclear.
Yeah.
Everybody had Everclear.
Everclear in college for sure.
Yeah. My daughter, when she moved out of college, she had a clear tub, and the tub on the side of the markings had something along like getting started, feeling pretty good, all fucked up.
And it's weird. I can see it's the EVER. It's weird. You can see the label. I mean, I can still remember that label.
Yeah, for sure.
I think it was a blue label with some grain on it. Yeah.
I assume not only were you drinking it and consuming it, you were blowing some fireballs too, right? Every college kid is doing that. You get the lighter out, you just blow it. Just, dangerous as can be. Yeah, everyone's doing that shit.
Yeah.
So I know you probably told this 100 times. What was your kick in?
Oh, I grew up in a household where my parents really didn't drink, but they drank at holidays and parties and stuff like that. And whenever they would drink bourbon. I mean, and they had like cocktails. So in the summertime, they would have bourbon slushes at the pool and stuff like that when they had those parties. In the wintertime, it was eggnog made with bourbon. In the fall, they liked something they called the Godfather, which was typically made with scotch. They made it with bourbon. It's bourbon and amaretto. And they would make those. So everything was always with bourbon. And they liked David Nicholson 1843. So I kind of grew up around that. And then and my dad did not like beer. He hated beer. And when I grew up...
Policeman in St. Louis. I hated beer.
Yeah, he didn't
he was an outcast.
He was an outcast. He didn't like beer. So when I went to college and everyone started drinking, I had drank plenty of bourbon because I always would try it and stuff like that. And I tried beer because we never really had it around the house, and I didn't like it either. And I was like, I'll just stick with what I know. I want to drink the bourbon. So I started drinking bourbon. And what I would drink was Jim Beam White Label and Coke. That's what I would drink, Beam and Coke. And that's what I did. I continued doing that. And then I would get... some different things from time to time, Maker's Mark and stuff like that. Mix it up, but I was still doing bourbon and Coke. And then in 2000, 1999, I think they opened up the Bourbon Trail, and I wanted to go there. So in 2000, we went, and that changed it for me. After seeing the production and meeting some of the people and doing all that kind of stuff, then I became a really true bourbon fan and seeking out all the stuff and buying Pappy Van Winkle and Birthday Bourbon when it started and all that kind of stuff. I had all that, but this is when you could get it. So I was really a collector before it was a thing, which is kind of cool. So
you bring up an interesting thing something I miss from my parents. The New Year's Eve parties they had.
Oh, yeah.
Dad had poker parties all the time in the basement where there's beer and liquor. I mean, it was a different time. I mean, you had these friends over. There were more parties. You just don't hear... I mean, he was a tavern, but he always went to the tavern. You just don't have those days anymore, it seems like.
Yeah.
They're just gone. People don't get together and have those New Year's Eve parties at home.
My parents always had that kind of stuff. Parties,
You don't have that much anymore.
No, for sure.
That's why we come here.
Yeah, exactly. This is what we're doing. We're filling a void right here at the ABV Barrel Shop. You should too. Come by and see us. So.
Yeah, I know. We right before COVID, the year before COVID. In fact, the year of COVID, we were going to start a tradition. We're going to have a Kentucky Derby party at our house because I had the little Kentucky Derby dice game.
Oh, okay.
Like that, and I bought a bunch of lottery tickets. And if you won, you got a lottery ticket. That kind of crap. And then everybody came down with COVID, but everybody there. They drink beer. Very few people wanted a mint julep or anything else. They just give me a beer.
Want a beer.
Or give me a glass of wine. No, but they all, this was taboo. I can't drink and drive, which is true.
You got a good point. Yeah, you shouldn't do that.
Like we said, if you drink too much, you're spending the night or sleeping rough on the couch.
These days, with Uber and all that kind of stuff, people should use alternative means of transportation for sure. Yeah. So
you said your dad liked 1843.
Yeah, David Nicholson, 1843.
My dad, because we came from a large family, my dad was a 10 High or Old Crow, whichever one was cheaper, and RC Cola, not Coke, RC Cola. It was cheaper.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. And he let us make them one every night. So we all got to go there and play with it. Yeah.
Oh yeah. That's back when all kids were making drinks back then. I think I certainly was. Yeah. All right. Well, we'll wrap this one up as we always do by talking about where people find us. This one should be interesting. Joe, where can people find you?
Granite Pontoon Beach, Illinois, doing a whole lot of nothing.
Any social media at all for you?
Well.
Okay.
I'm on LinkedIn, I think.
Still
LinkedIn.
Okay.
Yeah. That's about it.
Check out Joe Denap on LinkedIn. Yeah, it's a happening account. All right, Dave, how about you? Where can people find you?
In the barrel shop.
Yeah.
A lot of the time. You'll find me on LinkedIn as well. Been there for a long time. And Bourbon STL on the gram.
There you go. Bourbon STL. See, he's on the gram. How about that? For me, I'm an easy guy to find. I'm at Steve Akeley, Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. I've got a website, steveakeley.com. We've also got a company website, abvnetwork.com. That's the one you got to check out. Everything that we do is out there. Joe, we've got over 2,800 shows, I think. We just recorded 2,800 or something like that for the Bourbon Daily. So you got to get caught up, man. It's going to take you a little while. They're out there on the ABV Network.
Right, yeah. Well, I actually log in. I've got you on the podcast.
Okay.
I actually listen to a podcast, which for me, that's pretty much
okay, that's good.
But it's kind of like, sometimes I forget. But yeah, I know you're out there quite a bit.
That's good, yeah. Absolutely.
I got your emails.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Starting to read them too. So you can get emails from us, the ABV Barrel Shop. Come by and see us. At a minimum, check out abvbarrelshop.com. Find out what we have going on, what's in the store, etc. On that note, we'll let you go for today. Leave us a 5-star review. It helps new people find the show. That's pretty important to us. Get involved. Patreon.com/the ABV Network. That's it for today. We'll have a brand new show for you tomorrow. Take care. See ya.
Bye-bye.
Peace. Before we let you go, let's talk about one last thing, the ABV Barrel Shop in the St. Louis community of Arnold, Missouri. The ABV Barrel Shop is focused on a couple of things. First of all, single barrels. We are the place where single barrels live. We go to distilleries, taste through the whiskey, select the best barrel, and have it shipped to our store where we present it to you, our customers, by allowing you to try before you buy. We're also known for the classes that we have in our education center in the store, as well as the events we have with industry professionals from the bourbon business. If you are in the St. Louis area, please come by and visit us at 6 Fox Valley Center in Arnold, Missouri. Or at a minimum, at least sign up for our email and text distribution so you know exactly what's going on in our shop over at abvbarrelshop.com. This is Steve Akeley, owner of the ABV Network, signing off. We thank you for listening to our programming and truly appreciate your support.
The Bourbon Daily is part of the ABV Network. For more information or to become a sponsor, please visit abvnetwork.com. Thanks for listening and cheers.
This has been a Steve Akeley production.